Hello and welcome to the Black Phantom episode of Post Game Clarity. Here I am going to summon Dave and I'm going to summon Drew to help me discuss why we aren't talking about Demon Souls today. I know, it says Demon Souls on the title, and we promised you, but we're not talking about it. But we are. We are. So let's get into this, right? Well, everyone say hello.
Hello. Hey. Oh, wait. Let me do a really bad Black Phantom summon sound.
That was freaking awesome.
That was so good. I thought I was playing the game.
You mean the game we're not talking about?
Well, it depends, because I got happy, which means it was the original and not the remake. Otherwise, I get really sad. So, again, all we're going to do in this episode is essentially explain why we're not covering Demon Souls and just kind of talk around like some of the very few observations we had and struggles we had, specifically Drew. So why don't we throw it to Drew to explain the initial cause of this. So essentially, the timeline is I chose Demon Souls at the end of last episode, and Drew has a PS3, and she bought the physical game, but, well...
Can I tell you guys something to tell you about why this is so disappointing? We actually have to go back to the winter of 2021. Okay, I was living in my college dorm. I had my Nintendo Switch and I played Final Fantasy VII and 8 and 9 on my Switch. I played Resident Evil HD on my Switch, and I thought, damn, these games that are PlayStation games are pretty badass. I would like to get a PlayStation. So I was doing some research on the internet, and I learned that specific serial numbers of the original PS3 could play PS1, PS2, and PS3 games, right? So I said, oh, I'll buy that, so then I can go over to my local game store. I can pick up stuff for all three systems, and I'll have like a nice little library all set up when this thing, ships in. So I buy it, and like a week goes by or whatever, it gets here. I go set it up, and it fucking doesn't work, and I ended up having to send it back. I even tried holding down the fucking power button to go into like the debug mode or whatever, because so many message boards will recommend you do that. So I sent it back. My dad's like, hey, why don't you try getting on fucking Facebook Marketplace and find... Why did I do this? So I got on Facebook Marketplace. I found this guy that was selling the same thing. So I was like, word up, send that shit to me. I get it sent to me. I open the box. And hilariously, okay, one, this is good hilarious. This guy left his Red Dead Redemption disc in the PS3 when he mailed it to me. So free game for me, or it would have been. I ended up selling it because I sold everything after this one. But also in the packaging he put in the box, there was a soy sauce packet in the box. And also, this motherfucker didn't even put a fucking power adapter in there.
Oh, God.
So my solution was to unplug my printer and use that to get it going, which surprisingly worked. It was hilarious. But then the same shit happened. Fortunately, unlike most Facebook Marketplace people, he let me send it back to him and he refunded it. But I was like, damn, this sucks ass. And I just bought like a PS2 off of like Amazon, and that ended up working fine. Anyway, years pass. Last year, I get a new PS3, and it was fine. And I mean, I couldn't hook it up to a capture card, but it's not like I need to hook it up to a capture card to play games. So I put it in storage after I moved after last year. And then Dork was like, okay, we're going to do Demon Souls. So I was like, okay, let me go over to my little storage box that all my systems are in. I'm going to go get it. I'm going to set up my PS3. And I bought Demon Souls for myself, and so I'm going to set that up and play it. So I put it in there, and I got a couple other games. So I was like, I'm just going to put these in and get them started, just see them up on my TV. It'll be nice and fun. Guess what? Doesn't want to read any of the discs that I bought. The only fucking game that it will read the disc for is Sonic Generations, which I played last year, like when I bought the damn thing.
Based.
Which is based. Sonic Generations is a good game. But damn, I wanted to play fucking Demon Souls. So then, so then I'm like, well, fuck. But then I remember, then a thought occurs to me, Drew, this was the generation when you could get onto the online store. So I go onto my PS3. I go onto the PlayStation Network store. I go and I type in D. I type in E. I have to scroll vertically down a list of letters. There's no keyboard.
It's bad.
I have to pick MON, blah 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 blah. You get to demo. It basically knows what game you're talking about. So I get on there. I click on it. I say, "Let me buy Demon Souls," and it says, "Wait, you can't just have your card pre-installed on here. You can't put it in on the console. You have to log onto the PlayStation website. You have to put in your card there and add funds on the website, and then you come back and you download the game." So I did all that, and I downloaded it, and it took like a million years, but it's okay because we weren't going to start playing it for a couple weeks because this was still when we were in the middle of getting ready to record the Klonoa 2 episode. So I did that. A couple weeks later, it's like, okay, it's Demon Souls time. So I get on there, and guess what? HDMI fucking starts flickering and cutting the sound in and out, and it's like kind of painful to look at because it's like flashing images and there's like static going all around, and I can't even properly appreciate the cool ass opening CG because the music keeps cutting out, and it sucks balls. So I was like, well, damn. So then Dave comes in, and he's base as hell, and he's like, you know what, why don't you just like emulate it? And I was like, oh, you know what, I could try that. Now, here's what I will say. The PS3 emulator did work decently well. I think the problem is that instead of having a whole dedicated PC, I think it's that I just settled for getting a very good laptop, and it is prone to overheating. And it could have been just like any number of other factors. But I was having a good time with Demon Souls, but it crashed really hard, and I thought it was like gonna crash my entire computer twice while me and Dorkax were like in a call. He was watching my game feed, and I was having a good time. I got to Dork helped me. Yeah, Dork helped me find osteoporosis. We were hanging out in the castle. We were having a good time. But then the thing just kept like crashing, and my computer was like insanely hot, like temperature wise. And it was just like, well, damn, what are we going to do now? And so then we got to the phase where eventually we were like, well, it's either we drop the episode or we decide to go for the remake. So we tried the remake for a little bit. And that's basically my story.
Yup. And then I remember that day because I remember I was anticipating Dave in our Discord chat. I anticipated him like, I know him. He's going to say, why don't we do the remake? And I'm like, once he does that, I'm going to get upset. So that's when the moment I saw, like, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to preemptively say it. No remake. And then that's right when I saw Dave typing for a while. I'm like, he's going to fucking say it right now. No remake. And then he's like, aw. And then, because he had shared, he's like, yeah, he has interest in it because all of us have a PS5 and it obviously looks really advanced with its like fidelity and stuff, whatever. So I can understand him wanting to see how the remake turned out. But I was just like, no, I remember playing it 2 years ago on stream. I remember not really enjoying it. I didn't remember a whole lot of the reasons why. I just remembered I didn't really like it. I didn't even finish it, even though it had been quite a while since I played the original game. But I was looking at the VOD for it, and I was like, this game doesn't look that bad. Maybe we could just play it, and this way. And I was in crazy cope mode right here, right? I was huffing copium because I was like spouting out reasons why this was a great idea, and Dave was all about it. I was saying this makes a lot of sense because honestly, how often are like a person's first Souls game going to be the Demon Souls remake? That could be a cool angle for Drew. And also Dave, you could talk about the remake changes overall and how you're actually getting more into the Souls formula because you just play Dark Souls. Oh. Yeah. I was just like huffing it like crazy, copium hard. So here's the thing though. I wanted to get really into it. I was like, okay, if this is what we're going to do, I still want to play an entire playthrough of the PS3 version, and then I'll play the remake. So I had to work double duty essentially. I'm like, it's fine. So I played through the original game. I loved it. There was a couple issues here and there because it's still clearly like their first attempt at this kind of game. Well, not their first, but you get it. It was very unpolished in some ways that, like some ways I can appreciate, some ways I can't. But overall, though, I really liked the original again. I loved it. And again, I'm playing Elden Ring right now, and I'm like, oh my god, the first Demon Souls is so much better. Like, that's how much I like the first Demon Souls.
Wow.
And then I go back to the remake. And again, I know I have tons of time. Drew hadn't even fucking played through the first level yet. Drew was taking their sweet-ass time with it. So I knew I had tons of time. And I know, like, Dave was just starting it, and I started playing the remake, and immediately I clocked it. I'm like, wow, this already looks and sounds way worse. Immediately I clocked that when you're in soul form, you now have audio of your character walking around, where in the original, it was totally silent. And that was one of my favorite touches in the original, how it was total silence when you were in soul form. But then when you were human, you could hear your clanking armor again. I'm like, oh god, that's not good. And then just, on top of it, just every single time I tried to play it, it just got more and more sickening and disgusting. Every single change they made. Again, the mechanics are basically the same. It's just the visual and audio that's different. Specifically, like the boss soundtracks are totally different and set up a totally different tone. Basically, like what I told Dave was, right, so the original Demon Souls has this weird, I think like some would even say goofy atmosphere to it, where it's just, it's very understated and kind of unique. Whereas like the Demon Souls remake is like, everyone likes Dark Souls 3. Again, Elden Ring at this point, what wasn't even a thing. Everyone likes Dark Souls 3. Let's just fucking do that. Let's just make every single song sound epic as shit. Let's make every single sound effect in the game sound crunchy and hard and whoa, loud. Let's make every single fucking level look so epic. Whoa, this is so epic. Every single, it's like they're trying to impress you at every turn. Whereas the original game was just so understated and humble. And this remake is anything but. So every single, there was a certain point, I think I was in Latria and I had just done like the Fool's Idol and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I literally can't do this anymore. Every single time I play, it makes me sad. And I basically begged Drew and Dave to please let me cancel this one. I'll take, here's the thing, right? This is supposed to be my pick. It's supposed to be a game I love. And neither of the two people were playing a game I like. I hate this. So it's like, I didn't want to, it's not me introducing a cool game to even like, like one or two people. It's me fucking, it was going to feel like work doing the podcast about something I didn't even like doing. So essentially, I pleaded with them, can we please not do this? And this is our compromise, basically. We're getting content out of it, and we get to complain a little bit, our whole story about it. But this is not a Demon Souls episode for all the reasons we just went through. Ta-da.
And rap.
And we did it.
No,
guys.
no, honestly, though, I think it's only fair, though, because Dave, we've each like shared our stories. I did like how you seemed to be connecting with it in the sense where you had already beaten Dark Souls now, and you said you were having a little bit of an easier time because you said this time you chose not to use magic only, and you tried out a more melee build. So I want to hear the story.
Okay, yeah. I guess I can go through my journey with it. Apt plug for my channel, ho ho. So yeah, when I got my PS3 set up when we were ready to do Demon Souls, I got my Elgato set up. I had to finesse some of the connections because I was only getting sound out of one channel. And actually that persisted sometimes. I'd be playing Demon Souls and suddenly one channel would just drop out and I'd have to like rejiggle the connections. So that was annoying. But I got up to the Tower Knight fight in the original game again, and I was doing a night build, and I was having a bit of a rough time because I guess I had forgotten some of the mechanics, or I was trying to brute force, like, how best to say this? When I went to the remake, I chose to do a night again, and I didn't go to 1-2 this time. I finished the first level, and then I decided to go to 2-1, which, is recommended for people who play Demon Souls. I've heard, it's like, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. They're all kind of, equal in their own ways. They all have their certain spikes in difficulty that you might need to adapt with. But one thing I kind of clocked into, it was almost like a revelation. You know, sometimes when something hits you, it seems so obvious in retrospect. And this was one of those where I went to 2-1 and I got up to a point where I couldn't actually go forward without suffering a lot of damage because I didn't have a bow. So I was like, well, you know what? Why don't I just go to 3-1 then? And then I played through 3-1. I had a good time in Latria on the remake. I beat Latria. And then I went into 4-1 and I was really worried because I didn't have a crushing weapon in that level's full of skeletons. But at that point, I'd leveled up enough that I was able to even defeat the red-eyed skeletons with just my sword I had at the moment. Then I found the magic sword in 4-1 and I was getting confidence and I decided to go back and level up because I got a lot of souls from there. And because I'd beaten the red-eyed skeleton, I thought, hey, why don't I go back to 1-1 and beat that red-eyed knight? And I was able to do it. Basically, the revelation that, oh, I can just, try something else. The game is so completely segmented that I can just keep chipping away at all these different levels and enjoying the atmosphere and the tension of exploring them, because that's kind of what my whole Dark Souls critique was about, the tension and joy of exploration in these games. But I guess, something that adds into this, I was having trouble in 3-1 actually. Those jailers were giving me a rough time as a knight. So it's then when I found the, I think it's the assassin set, and I said, oh, what the hell, I'll take my armor off. And just, going under 50%, being able to dodge roll quickly, and even I was able to kind of circle random quicker, and that helped me a lot. I was enjoying the game a lot more there. And then since I was having trouble with that, you know what? I have all these souls. Why don't I just buy the fireball spell? That'll help me with the jailers. So, even though I was chose to be a knight, I'd gotten far enough along. I'd taken my armor off. I'm like, oh, wait, the starting class is just the starting class. Another one of those dumb moments in retrospect. Well, yeah, let me buy a few spells to help me out. And it just kind of felt like the game was opening up to me, the idea that really I could go in any direction I wanted. I could chip away, especially, I guess, with the way Demon Souls is set up. You're having trouble over here, go over here. In future Souls games, there are more linear paths, and that's a little more tricky. But at least in this first outing, it's very easy to do it, and maybe it's even designed to do that. So I was starting to get into it and wondering if maybe I had gotten over that hump of, oh, maybe these games aren't frustrating if you somehow, maybe I finally clocked into finding the fun in that slow progression, that, oh, I'm finally overcoming things by, having these ideas and I put them into effect and they work. And now I'm more excited to go forward. And I also have to say, this is one step in favor of the remake, is that with the instantaneous loading of the PS5, it is far easier to go, oh, I'm having trouble here. I'm just going to go back to the Nexus and maybe try somewhere else. On the PS3, I actually had word games on my phone open up because it felt like every load screen was 2 to 3 minutes long. So that's actually the only negative I have about my time on the PS3 version. The only negative I really have, I have two negatives about the remake. One is I don't like the riposte animation when you successfully parry an attack and stab the guy. I think it's a little too overdone, which kind of clicks in with Dork's idea of the remake being very bombastic and just shoving everything in your face. The way the sound effect and the counter stab works in the PS3 version is just like almost perfection to me. And then, even though the only boss I had beaten on this was Phalanx, the 1-1 boss, I was so disappointed when I went into his arena in the remake and that music that I loved from the original wasn't there. So I can imagine that as the game would have gone on, I probably don't remember most of the tracks from my original playthrough of the game, but just the idea that the music in the original is so unique and tuned to what that game is, and they've decided to redo the soundtrack, that's a low point for me as well.
Yes. Thank you for sharing your story, Dave. We absolutely love that here. This is the Sharing Circle, as we're known, which is our podcast name, the Sharing Circle. So I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you.
Were you able to follow that? I know I had some like ADHD tangents going back and forth the whole time.
Sure, I was able to follow everything.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, though, what's funny is we're post-game clarity. We didn't get a post-game out of this one, so that's why this isn't a real episode.
There's no clarity.
That's why this is the sharing circle. You know, okay, so there was a huge urge for me to make a real video about this because of one thing in particular. After I completed Tower Knight on my original playthrough, man, that song, I was humming it, I was singing it for a while. It's so fun, and I just love how it fits with that encounter. And then when I play Tower Knight on the remake, I'm like, they replaced this cool track that would not be in any boss fight in any other game with a song that could slot into any boss fight in any other game. Like, they literally went the opposite. And again, you can kind of hear the main like melody in the new one, but they just assaulted it with a whole bunch of like, you know, bombastic shit, a whole bunch of instrumental stuff. And now, I have seen like somewhere like the original composer of the game, I think he said he liked what the new stuff sounds like. And here's my stance, right? I don't give a fuck if any author thinks that, you know, whatever, all right? After they made their shit, it's now done. And I think he's wrong. I think his work is way fucking better than anything in the remake. And this isn't just me being a fucking nostalgic stan here, all right? I hadn't played the game. I didn't even remember like half of Demon's Souls. I haven't played it since 2017. So it's just like 8 years later, essentially. And it's like, bro, like, no, the ho, 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 boom, boom, ho, 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 that's just funny as shit. And instead in the remake, it's like, it's just like an Ornstein and Smo. It's just everything is Ornstein and Smo now. You know what? That's the worst thing that's happened to FromSoft music is Ornstein and Smo. Ornstein and Smo was a great track that went through a whole bunch of like ups and downs in its fight. It was great for the moment. Then Dark Souls 2 and 3 and even Elden Ring, they just fucking can't stop doing Ornstein and Smo. I'm done.
Dork, I do wonder though. Do you think your reaction to the remake would have been as strong and negative if you hadn't played the original again?
I know it wouldn't have. No, I know that because I streamed it. I played it. I tried to play it 2 years ago, and I just had like a general, I don't like this as much. But now, having played it literally a week before, I now know everything that's different.
Right.
And what, like, again, like when I played it, you know, like 2 years ago, I had like a uneasy, like something doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel as good. And now I just, it's the same feeling, but now I can point to it. It's like, no, all of Latria to me is way worse. So essentially, they killed Latria for me because in the original, it's fucking like, you know, like dinging bells every now and then. Ding, ding. It totally sets the mood. And in the fucking remake, it's just like, oh, it's just like a fucking like Jingle Bells shit, where it's like every single jailer has like a fucking, you know, like a reindeer, you know, like Jingle Bell on their butts as they move around. It's like, oh, you're supposed to use that to know where they are. That's pretty fucking cool, right? No, it makes the sound like shit. Like,
I do want to just mention with Latria though, because not having replayed the original, I do remember you saying in chat something along the lines that you feel it's one of the best levels From has ever made in any of their games. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, replaying the remake one, which, you know, for all the reasons you've said, I can understand doesn't have the atmosphere of the original, but that as a level in itself, like, holy shit, even on the remake, after it was done, it's like, I don't think the game's going to get better than that.
Structurally, I think like Latria is easily one of the best they've ever done. And, well, okay, sorry, I should say, in terms of like the vibe, it's easily like one of their best ones. But even like the structure is really, really sound. Because I think I did a lot what you pretty much ended up doing on the remake. And I'm like, oh, this works out really well. Because you can essentially explore the floor you're on, go all the way around and grab the key you need. And then if you come back to the Archstone, that's right next to the door you'll have to proceed throughout the entirety of the level. So you already accomplished something. And now you can leave if you want, you know? You chipped away at it, and there's an entire area you don't even have to go back to.
Yeah, the only downside is that I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to find my way to floor 2, and then I looked online, And it turns
It's
out
the staircase between, isn't it?
No, well, okay, maybe this
Oh.
is a change for the remake. In the remake, floor 2 is only available for pure white world tendency.
Huh.
So it's one of those things, and I don't think in my original play I ever got pure white anything.
No, it's probably the same. I don't think they change anything when it comes to pure white or pure black. But I just remember that when I was getting so lost when I was first playing it back in 2012 or whatever, however long ago it was, I would like. The main thing I kept forgetting about, or I guess I didn't even realize, is that there's like a staircase in between, like the main staircase.
Yeah.
Where you know exactly which one I'm talking about, don't you? Yeah. So that to me was always what got me. It's a crazy cool labyrinth, and I'd say so. This is hopefully maybe in like 4 years, eventually, like we'll get to Dark Souls 3, right? There is a thing in Dark Souls 3 that feels vaguely similar, and it does have its own unique share of cool things. So I hope when we get to that at some point, you will like it, Dave. And Drew, I hope you eventually, start to click with the series, so it isn't like pulling teeth at some point. But
Well, it wasn't okay. I think part of it was, one, I wasn't having a good time with the class I picked because I restarted, but two, I think it was also just like the pressure of like it or not, when Dave gets in the post game clarity group chat and he's like, I finished 1-1 and I finished 1-2 and I'm beating 3-1. I'm gonna play 3-1 tonight. Like it or not, that's inherently like peer pressure. You know what I mean? That's like setting like a deadline onto my shoulders when I I've got a lot of other stuff going on as well, on top of like not initially clicking with the class that I picked. Which I'm not trying to say that to vilify either of you, because like you guys are just like having a time. You're just having the time that you're having. But I think if it wasn't for an episode, I probably would have had an easier time like getting into it and like experimenting a bit more, like Dave was saying. Like I was like, oh, like I can go back and try this. Like I was slowly figuring out like, oh wait, I can go and talk to the candle wax eyeball lady and level up my shit. I can go around the fucking pillar and there's the guy that sells me my magic spells and all that kind of shit. Like I was starting to figure stuff out. I just needed, it's just the type of game where there's so much to it that for a first timer, you just really, really need the time to get to know it. Like it's like a really, really eccentric person that you just have to like really take time to like get to know. So I was really, I find it fascinating. Demon Souls is very, very fascinating on so many different levels. And especially when I started out with either the knight or the soldier, and then I switched back to, what the fuck is it called? Like the magician or something, like somebody that has like a dagger, but you mainly cast spells. And it was like so much fun because I could just be like, hey bitch. And it was fucking awesome. And then I would run out of like MP or whatever. And I was like, well, fuck. Now I have to be good. Now I have to not suck ass at riposting and shit. There's so much satisfying. There's so much interesting about it. I was still really enjoying playing the remake. But even though I was only able to get through most of the way through 1-1 before my computer started fucking exploding, you helped me find like really cool secrets like ostrich and stuff, like hiding out in the castle and getting ready to like you get to hang out with him. You get to like toss bombs from the upper ledge at people. Like there are fucking enemies that roll balls down on you or like throw shit to blow up barrels in your face and kill you instantly. There are shortcuts to find even in the linear levels. Like it's just like there's so much that's fascinating about it that you really just need as much time as possible to like take all of it in. So I wasn't even like having necessarily a rough time, although I did get very, 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 very angry at 1-2 because that one formation at the very end of the level is complete fucking bullshit.
Yep.
Like I'm so glad I switched to the magic class just for that, because that made it actually fucking doable.
I will say, Drew, when you continue like your journey with the Soul series, obviously it's not as fun when you get a whole bunch of help, but I will say, if you approach it in the sense that you're basically, like, this game is the kind of thing where you don't need to understand every enemy. Like, you don't have to, like, learn, he's gonna swing now, I should, like, riposte him. All you basically gotta do is just hold up a shield and just kind of get through everybody. The only enemies you need to learn, I'd say, are probably the bosses. Everything else is just kind of like, like, do whatever you can to get through this mess, and then, hopefully, like, learn the boss enough so because he's the only one with a huge health bar, essentially. So I would just, like, advise, because I know in other action games it really pays off to learn everyone's moveset so you can respond accordingly and get higher rankings and just have, like, a better time. But in this game, it's more about, like, being slow and just doing whatever the fuck will actually kill this guy in front of you. Like, it doesn't have to be anything pretty,
Yeah.
And the game does really give you a lot of help in that regard. Like, you probably noticed in 1-1, you get a bunch of firebombs, you get a bunch of, well, in the original it's turpentine, in the remake it's pine resin, but it makes your weapon flammable. And what's the weakness of the first boss? Fire.
Yep.
True.
So, in fact, I'll probably have it on like the video portion right now. Like, if you like hoard up all the firebombs and all the turpentine for the phalanx, it's like night and day if you didn't use any fire. It's night and day. Like, it's so easy if you just...
Oh, and also, if you're going through it as a magician, Soul Arrow just fucking kills those little hoplites as well.
True.
Oh, and I didn't have Soul Arrow yet, but I loved casting fire on the main body of the boss. It was so cool. Just watching the health bar just tank.
Yeah, you were a magician on the remake, right? He comes with fire, doesn't he?
I was able to be phalanxes as both classes that I played. But yeah, I played the magician. They come with the fire spell and the water spell that I figured out makes you invincible. Or invisible, rather, I should say. So.
Yeah, well, like, the game is really, really cool. Obviously, that's why I chose it. But essentially, that's why we're not talking about it, for the reasons we said 20 minutes ago. Basically, we're not gonna do a whole podcast on it. We really did try. We really did, and quite a lot of avenues. And whether it be Drew or just me, it really wasn't happening. Dave was a good sport through all of this, though. I think we should give a round of applause for Dave. Add an applause sound right here. Yeah, Dave, you're a good sport. I appreciate you just fucking vibing through all of this.
Now, editor, edit in a bunch of rave and party sounds, because now we're having a big celebration for Dave. It's his big night, and he's gonna come out on stage. He's gonna give a speech.
Dave Rave?
Dave Rave. Dave, what's your speech for the faithful Dave heads out there?
I would like to thank the Demon Souls Academy.
Wait, can I actually say, Dave, that was goated, first of all. Second of all, can I say a couple of things before we finish this that I was thinking about that I noticed? Okay, one, yes, the opening on the PS3 version is just like 10 million times better because the music is fucking weird. But also, obviously I only played through 1-1. 1-1 is so funny. The hints on the ground are so fucking funny. There's some really, really, like, unintentionally funny people. Like, whenever I would see something that was like time for falling or time for dying or something like that, I was like, that's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. I had a thing in the Nexus where you're walking up to go find the creepy baby doll and talk to him, but I stopped and there was like, exactly, whatever the fuck. I don't know, Lord of the Rings bullshit. I don't care. It's so, and then there was a thing on the floor that was like time for falling, and there was an upside down statue, so I thought some like Mario Galaxy shit was gonna happen, so I walked off and I fucking died because I was a fucking idiot. The other main thing I noticed is, when you actually get into the game proper after the character creator, which also the character creator has like the chillest fucking lo-fi beat like ever. It's so fucking relaxing. It's so cool. But when you get to in the PS3 version, like the thing that like sets up the world is they literally show it like a World War II war reel. Like there's like film grain on it, like the camera is shaking around. It's such an interesting stylistic choice. And in the remake, they just completely get rid of the film grain, but the camera like shakes sometimes.
Yeah, it's
just like what the fuck why the fuck did you even bother changing that? Like, it doesn't feel like a purposeful change. It's very strange.
You've reminded me actually about something I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Because it's something I brought up in the Klonoa 2 video, I think. But it's also something, so like, I've been playing through the original Assassin's Creed, and Dork has as well at the moment. And I guess I've been in kind of this PS3 mindset. So I was playing Assassin's Creed and loving the vibe and atmosphere of the cities and the bustling streets in that game when I loaded up Demon Souls for the first time, the PS3 version. And I guess being in that mindset, not only, the CGI cutscene at the start is phenomenal and the tutorial is pretty fun, but yeah, when I went into 1.1 for the first time, and I just on the PS3 and just looked up at the imposing wall of Boletaria Castle, like this entire fortress in front of me, all there, it didn't look like it was low, like in Assassin's Creed, the first one, when you're up on like a tower, a lot of the buildings just look like in the distance are just like rectangles. They didn't have the power to make them detailed if they're in the distance. But in Demon Souls, it's all right there and it looks phenomenal. Like I was just blown away by it. And I wanted to keep that in mind when we went to the remake and I went into Boletaria. And I would be a liar if I didn't say that the remake isn't visually impressive. Like when it first loaded me into the tutorial section, there's like all that grass on the ground and like it is visually rich. They did a wonderful job just in terms of the way the game looks. But while it was still impressive, seeing the whole of Boletaria in much higher detail, higher fidelity, I don't know. It's what I said in Klonoa 2. There's just something to me that clicks about, if you see like a visually impressive game that was made in the last 5 years, it's almost like it's expected. It's like, yeah, that's what games look like now. But if you go back, a couple generations and you see something that really blows you away, it's more special in a way. Now, it makes me think that maybe in, 10, 15 years, I'll look back on, like Forspoken and FF16 and the Demon Soul remake and see what the PS5 could do and go, holy shit, they really did it. Look what they were able to do. Maybe it takes time before you can appreciate these things. But I just thought it was an interesting comparison between being so blown away by Boletaria in the original, and then the remake is like, yeah, this is cool, but, it's a PS5.
Yeah, I totally know what you're saying because, again, I am playing Assassin's Creed 1 on the PS3 even, and it's just like, wow, the city is amazing. Like, they really nailed it in terms of that, and, of course, I feel the same thing about Demon Souls on the PS3, and I'm also playing Infamous, which will be, like its own video too, and I'm impressed with that whole visual style as well. So I do wonder if it's just we're so saturated with games that look like, high fidelity stuff that it's tough to appreciate anymore. It's just like, yeah, it just looks like it looks like real life. Congratulations, you did it. It's just good job. But yeah, it is what it is. In fact, I will say, so Blue Point, listen. If you want to make a game that looks this good, that's fine. Make your own shit. Right? Don't trample on a game I already like that has a very cool artistic vision in terms of visuals and sound. Make your own cool, bombastic Dark Souls, like Souls-like thing. Just make it your own. Why are you so afraid of doing your own things? I know you work for Sony, so they tell you what to do, but still, just get out of here.
Dork is echoing the complaints of every Shadow of the Colossus fan when that PS4 version came out.
If they want to make their own version of it, just fucking go make your own version of it. You don't gotta just... Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. Does anyone have anything else to say?
Yeah. Dork, you gotta tell the fine folks out there what we're going to be covering instead.
Drew and Dave are so nice because I am a little bastard and I, pulled out on Demon Souls. They are graciously allowing me to pick, the next game we play, and I'm so thankful. All right, I'll go easy on that now. But really, thank you guys so much. We are going to be doing Dying Light 1.
Yes!
And what will make this so interesting is that it's in first person, and it's a zombie game. This is literally Drew's antithesis, like
This is, it is
antithesis
of
of Drew.
This is very anti-Drew. I will, we'll get more into it in the episode, but I'm not personally big into zombie fiction, and I'm really not big into first-person games. But I'm sure I'll expound upon that in the actual episode, so I'll hold off on that for now.
So stay tuned within the next month or two when we release our episode of why we can't play Dying Light.
And then they'll give me another pick.
And then the cycle will begin again and again forever.
And the one I'll pick after that is Catherine Full Body again.
And then everything just sets back, not unlike Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon Time, which you can now watch on Amazon Prime. Good night, everybody.
That was post-game clarity, where we didn't finish the game, therefore...
It's the sharing circle.